Welcome to another special edition of the Unfiltered Podcast in our Alex Berlin studios with me, Nyima Jadama. The special edition is part of the threefold interview series that we are doing to actually give Africa a new image by talking through amazing innovators and young entrepreneurs across the East and Southern Africa. Today, my guest is one of those rare innovators that is actually not just reshaping the narratives of Africa, but is creating jobs and innovations. The Unfiltered Podcast is actually a space where real stories meet bold and impactful voices. Joining me is Tinaye Makoni, a Zimbabwean tech entrepreneur, CEO and co-founder of Skicc Tech. Skicc Tech is actually pioneering AI-powered solar mini-grids in Africa. His company is tackling two massive problems that impact billions. That is energy poverty and unsustainable agriculture. With one powerful innovation, through one powerful innovation that is the grid box, Tinaye's work has already caught the attention of organizations like the World Bank and others, and has been a featured voice in the Falling Wall 2024 and the Middle East Energy Conference in 2025. If you're actually into stories about tech with purpose, a real-world impact and innovation from the global south, that's actually flipping the script. This episode is for you. Herzlich willkommen zu einer besonderen Ausgabe des Unfiltered Podcasts mit mir, Nyima Jadama. Heute zu Gast ist Tinaye Makoni, ein Zimbabwean, der Mitgründer und Geschäftsführer von Skicc Tech. Mit seiner Innovation Greenbox zeigt Tinaye eindrucksvoll, wie Technologie direkt und nachhaltig Leben verändern kann. Welcome to Unfiltered Podcast, Tinaye. Like I said, today we would be talking about or how to redefine Africa. How you as a Zimbabwean is actually transforming clean energy through AI and the power of local innovation. How are you doing?
I am doing great, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, and I look forward to a wonderful conversation with you.
Thank you very much. I also look forward to this interesting conversation with you. Now, Tinaye, let's start with your journey. What actually inspired you to become an entrepreneur, and how did Skicc Tech come to life?
Okay, so thank you very much. My journey starts in university when I was in my freshman year. So what happened was I pictured a future where post-university or after I graduated, there were no job opportunities, and it was a bleak future that was blurry. So one of the causes that has resulted in a space where Africa has less job opportunities is our energy infrastructure is not sustainable. So I figured out alongside my friends that one of the issues that was making this future unrealistic or an unbearable future for the African youth was the issue of energy. And energy was one of the causes of unemployment, where you'd see that in a nation like Zimbabwe, more opportunities for industrialization are limited by access to energy. So that was the push and the beginning of the start of Skicc Tech and the work that we are doing currently as a result of the root problem of energy poverty.
Like you said, you are actually tackling two problems, that is energy poverty and unsustainable agriculture. Why do you choose to focus on these two important topics?
Okay, so these topics are not only just topics, but they are a reality of the Africans that are living and existing in this space of unsustainable energy systems and also food insecurity. So when you look at Africa as a whole, the majority of our population has agriculture as their source of food and also as their source of income. So merging the two was one of the spaces where we felt that for us to bring about transformation across the African continent, we needed to solve the root problem of energy poverty but also catalyze agriculture because it's the fundamental industry that Africa possesses. But when you look at the landscape, it's one of those industries where, because of lack of access to sustainable energy systems, it's an industry that is a tough industry for the ones who are existing in that space.
Now, let's talk about the grid box that you actually use to tackle this energy poverty. I mean, for those that do not know about the grid box, or have no idea what this is all about, why exactly is this, and how does it work?
Okay, so Gridbox is a decentralized solar power station that aims to provide access to energy in a more affordable way. When you look at Africa as a whole, for example, Africa is the continent that has 60% of the solar potential globally, but only a fraction of that is leveraged or is used to turn into energy. So one would wonder, why is it that the continent has got so much solar abundance, but cannot use that solar abundance to power its industries, to power its economy? And one of the issues was to do with cost. So when you look at the productive use of electricity, there is need for large systems, for example, solar power plants with battery backup systems for reliability. But the average villager or the average person in Africa cannot afford these kind of systems. So our angle was to say, let's decentralize substantial resources like Gridbox and give people power where they need it the most, rather than having to go the centralized way of expanding the national grid. Because, for example, in the current context of Zimbabwe, we have got two main power sources. One is from Kariba, one is from Wanke. These are about 600 kilometers away from where other communities reside. So it will be very expensive to stretch out that power 600 kilometers away, rather than just setting up solar power stations or mini grids so that they can reach people faster and provide access faster.
I mean, you've actually come up with a very interesting or innovative idea, that is the use of AI into the solar power system. Perhaps quite new, or not much about it is known. That is one thing that actually stands out, is your use of AI in farming. Can you walk us through how artificial intelligence is actually integrated into the grid box, which is the solar, and how it helps reduce water waste, for example?
So Gridbox is implementing a very unique approach to artificial intelligence. And at the core of it, we are looking at how practical or the tangible use cases of AI in impacting the lives of many people. So what we leverage on is what we call edge artificial intelligence, where Gridbox provides artificial intelligence on the edge. And then, for example, in the context of irrigation, we have got real-time sensors that are integrated with the Gridbox. So these sensors collect data like moisture levels, it collects data like temperature. Then that data is then aggregated and processed to better inform the farmers on how best to grow their crops. So, for example, our solar plants control appliances like irrigation pumps. So that means when the moisture levels of a certain crop or a particular crop are ideal for irrigation, then the pumps start irrigating. But when the moisture levels of these certain crops are not ideal, then the pumps are stopped by the Gridbox system. And this system particularly works because it is a way of efficient irrigation and also a way of effective irrigation. So not only are we providing people with access to power, but we are providing them with access to power that is intelligent enough to monitor the resources on board. So you discover that instead of a certain community, or instead of our clients using 20,000 liters to irrigate a piece of land, they would actually use less water and then also conserve the energy that is needed to run the pumps and the respective appliances.
That's quite innovative and definitely very interesting. I mean, you are serving quite a number of communities in your quest to fight against energy poverty and unsustainable agriculture. So far, what are some of the success stories that the Skicc Tech company was able to register, let's say in Zimbabwe first?
So one particular success story that I hold dearly is the one in Manicaland, where we've managed to set up Gridbox. So I would trace back to 2023 during the time of a drought that the nation faced called El Nino. So this drought was a tragic drought because it affected our food systems, not only in Zimbabwe, but also most of the Southern Africa. So what we did is we deployed Gridbox in that particular community to power up appliances, for example, like pumps, which had a direct transformation on the community for water needs. So the pumps that we were powering, they're providing water for the community. They're also providing water for irrigation. So that also moved hand in hand with our vision in terms of execution, that we need to execute and we need to supply electricity to appliances that transform. So you would notice that the power station that we deployed, it had capacity to turn two 7.5 horsepower pumps and then be able to supply water to a community and for various needs, which was something substantial for that kind of a size of a system. And it was just one of the implementations of Gridbox that we managed to do. And furthermore, we have also gone into the mining sector, where we are working towards decarbonizing the mining industry, because the miners or the mining industry is a heavy consumer of diesel and carbonating sources. So at least that work around that area is progressing very well, and we are happy that we have made feasibility studies equivalent of over a megawatt deployments of decentralized power stations. And in the near future, we are going to have what we call green gold. It's more or less gold produced from green energy, and then we'll be able to successfully decarbonize the mining industry. So those are some of the success stories we've had so far, and we are still scaling in terms of working our progress.
Hopefully all the best. Actually, we have a short video trailer about you. It has no voice, so we will just play it in the background while I ask the next question, to just give an impression of how Skicc Tech is actually, empowering communities through clean energy. On that note, this is actually quite innovative. My question is, do you actually intend to expand beyond Zimbabwe, or are you already existing beyond Zimbabwe? Because energy is actually a huge topic. It's a basic needs, right, that usually should not, be fight for. But in Africa is a different context. I don't know how it is in Zimbabwe, but where I am from is still a discussion. It's still a need, quite a huge need, a sustainable energy. Do you intend to, weigh down your wings to other countries as well, so that, let's say, the whole Africa would be sustainable in terms of energy?
Yes, definitely. And at the back of my morning routine, or at the back of what I see daily, there's a statement that I really put at heart. It says over 600 million people across Africa do not have access to electricity, and most of them have never had access to electricity or do not even know what electricity is.
Yeah.
So that on its own is something that is unacceptable in my quest or in my journey to say a whole population of people don't have access to electricity, because we understand how electricity is correlated to modern productivity. So in terms of expansion, that's always on my mission board, or on our mission board as Skicc Tech, to say we want our solution to scale across Africa, and not only across Africa, but other regions with similar challenges. Because I've understood firsthand what electricity means, from having it and also not having it. Because from the current context where we are in, you'd have cases where there's load shedding either 22 hours, 20 hours, or even 24 hours in areas where there's the national grid. And then in areas where they do not have the national grid, they don't even have power. So they cannot do more like mechanization, industrialization. And that's something that we are actively working towards addressing. And recently, we are working and scouting towards expanding our services to nearby countries, for example, Zambia, other regional countries that are nearby, so that at least our solution can actively support the energy needs of communities. Because on that note, one thing that makes our solution so unique is that we are able to deploy these resources in the actual places where energy is needed the most. So I heard you referencing that in your country of origin, they don't have access to electricity. It's very easy for us to set up that energy infrastructure because of how decentralized it is.
Yeah. Sometimes you can go 24 hours or 2 days without access to energy. And this also affects water. So like I said, these are basic human needs, but then it depends on how, the country is. Actually, my country of origin is actually really small compared to Zimbabwe. So you could imagine. How do you see the role of African-led innovators in shaping the future of clean energy and climate resilience globally?
I think Africa is at that point in time where the world needs to gather up resources and support it. To support it not just because it's in need, but to support it because it's a partner that can contribute to the global economy. Yeah. So when I see the traces of history, for example, from the industrialization, the industrial revolutions that have happened, most of them have excluded Africa in terms of infrastructure, in terms of energy progress. But that's almost the last place where, for example, there's massive potential in terms of energy, and especially with the solar energy industry. Because you look at in Europe, I don't think in Europe they've got issues to do with energy in terms of load shedding the way Africa has, or in terms of availability. They might have where they want to transition from different sources of energy. For example, from coal, they're saying let's transition to a greener source of energy. But in Africa, you have a different case where the energy infrastructure has not even been set up so robust for everyone to have access to. Yeah. So I think because the Africans are affected by that, it's a daily problem that we face. It's a daily need that we need. We understand the problem from the root, not just from explanation, but from understanding how it affects our lives. And we are coming up with ideas of how to then solve that. So I guess that issue of our role, we are going to play a bigger role, and we are just open for collaboration with other partners, either from the Middle East, either from the West, from all over the corners of the world. Because what I feel is when Africa is enabled, the whole world stands to gain.
Sure. When Africa is enabled, the whole world will be enabled. That's quite nice. So every innovation actually comes with challenges. Setting up a startup, it's not as easy as one may think it is. What are some of the challenges you might have faced along the road before, you reached to where you are now?
So the challenges that I've faced, one of the key challenges that we have faced particularly is access to finance. Access to finance, because our industry, we want to set up a robust kind of infrastructure for industrial growth. So access to finance has been a challenge because we feel there's potential, there's a viability of the work that we can do, but then the funding of such projects, because some of them need to be massive enough to deliver the kind of impact that we aim for. And I recall even from our interactions from the World Bank, they've got different institutions set up to accelerate substantial investments in the energy space. So from our side, we've just been looking for partners, finance partners, investors who can work, who can collaborate with us so that at least there's 600 million people across Africa, but every day I take it as if it's an urgent need. They need access to electricity, and they need access to electricity fast. So access was a bit of a challenge. Then the other challenge, as an entrepreneur, I guess the journey itself is a learning opportunity amongst when you encounter all the challenges that you encounter. So one of the challenges that I faced personally was to start this venture as a livelihood. Was I just recently graduated. I remember I recently graduated with a first-class degree in computer science. I didn't have the liberty to get jobs, but rather to make jobs. So that weight of having to make a job, either for yourself or for others, is quite heavy, because it's a time-taking process rather than just the transitioning into a career. So at least that is some work that I'm still putting in terms of my personal career, because I've said that at least let me build an institution that progressively pushes humanity where they can be better off than just being in a system where I know that I'm not addressing root problems. So those are just a few of the challenges that I've faced. But as an entrepreneur, I guess challenges are part of the build up of the journey, and I anticipate that a lot of challenges will come, but progressively we will succeed over them.
Yeah. I like the statement that you graduate not to make jobs, but to create jobs. I think if every entrepreneur or every young African think this way, we will be creating jobs instead of having our young people making jobs elsewhere. So that's quite impactful, interesting there. Every innovation, every challenges, every success actually comes with giving back. And you just mentioned that you graduate to create jobs, not to make jobs. And on that note, I want to know, how are you giving back? How are you supporting the aspiring young entrepreneurs that actually also want to penetrate in the energy industry in Africa?
Interesting. Thank you for that question. So in terms of how I'm giving back to other entrepreneurs, I recall sometime in 2023, I did a certain course with Stanford University that was idea to market. So that course held value in terms of turning a thought and then progressing it all the way to the market and making it a viable business. So I guess it's one of the most transformational courses that I've encountered, because the idea of you taking a thought of which everyone has and then turning it into something substantial that can transform others and also yourself was something that was big. So I then used the knowledge from that course, or I then used the knowledge to transfer to other entrepreneurs. I remember at some point we would host mentorship sessions, and I was actively involved in mentoring over 200 entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who are young, vibrant, and energetic in that space. At least I shared the knowledge of how best can you do it, because one of the most powerful tools to transform a person is to empower them with knowledge. So I managed to do that. Then also in the communities where we are actively working or with our clients, we are working on a way that also they see the benefits of our technology and they can easily use that technology. Because I think if I can succeed in a certain path, then others should be able to follow and succeed or even go further.
Yeah.
So that's how I envision my impact with others. And I'm still yet I'm young, and I'm still yet to give more, because as existence, more people still don't have access to electricity. So at least from a fundamental perspective, if we empower you with the electricity that we provide at Skicc Tech, you can be able to do your jobs better. And in that particular community in Manicaland that I mentioned earlier on, I was touched when one of the community members said, "You don't know the impact that you are doing to us." So from a business perspective or from an entrepreneurship perspective, you are saying, "I'm delivering a solution and I hope this works," but you don't understand how much that solution means to people. So those are the close references that I can relate to in terms of giving back.
Wow. And how is the power of decentralizing energy system in Africa?
The power is massive. You know, I guess decentralization has always been the go-to or the solution, especially with the energy system. Because, for example, like I said, Africa possesses over 60% of the solar energy resources. I was actually fascinated when I visited Germany, one of the countries that is pioneering or that is pushing the forefront of renewable energy. It's very cold. In some regions, it's actually very cloudy, but they have got a lot of solar panels and wind systems. But then when you look at Africa, we wake up with the sun 24/7 in the morning up until maybe at 5, but we are not able to harness or capture that kind of energy. So the potential is so massive, it's so big enough to transform even the global economy, because hand in hand with the solar energy industry also lies the industry of minerals, for example, lithium. One key thing about our country, Zimbabwe, that we are proud of is that Zimbabwe is one of the largest lithium reserves in the world. So you can imagine a country that is the most abundant lithium in Africa, also relatively abundant sunshine. So once you mix all those two things together, that means it's a robust, substantial energy system that is ready to supply the energy needs of the people. So there's massive potential, to be honest.
Yeah. Hopefully these potentials would actually be useful. And then we will be talking about redefining, not just talking about redefining, but, making sure that we shape narratives. Like I said, this podcast series is about giving Africa a new image. How does your work or your company, Skicc Tech, contribute to shifting global perspectives of African innovation?
Okay, so at Skicc Tech, we are developing new innovations, especially in the domain of AI, artificial intelligence, where when you look at artificial intelligence in terms of the whole industry or as a whole, it's having an impact. But what impact is tangible is the question. That I think that's one of the major questions with AI systems. To say, if you look at it on the other angle, the amount of power that you use with large language models, for example, to generate images or pictures for fun, that's a missed opportunity that can be used to actually translate into industrial benefit in energy and utility scale industries. So, for example, you'd see that most particular AI applications in the form of ChatGPT, in the form of Grok AI, in the form of Gemini, a few, just to mention a few, they are more or less on the end user. And then we want to see now the tangible benefits of it in industries that people's lives. For example, can these AI systems provide enough food to feed the entire population of Africa? Can these systems provide enough electricity, or can they at least enable access to electricity at scale across the whole of Africa? So we are working and actively working towards pioneering that space of utility scale AI or utility enabling artificial intelligence. That at least when you see our systems that we are building, they've got a direct impact on industries that follow. And also, one of the things that I'm glad of is that because of our success story, other fellow entrepreneurs in Africa are seeing that it's actually a reality to do business and to start something that is robust and that grows. Because I do feel we learn by seeing others. So that familiarity or us seeing the progress of others also translates to our own benefit.
Yeah.
So that's my view.
In what ways do you think that the global tech and business world could better support or partner with African innovators like yourself?
So I feel that global innovators or global institutions or even tech companies could partner with us from a knowledge domain perspective. Because what you would notice is that in Germany, they might have solved the electricity issues, but then in Africa, we have not yet solved those issues. So if there is knowledge transfer of how they were able to do that, so that at least all of us can benefit, that would be better. And then also even in terms of collaboration, because at the root of entrepreneurship or at the root of almost any business is problem solving. So when we look at a continent with 600 million people without electricity, this is a problem waiting to be solved. And it's a problem not only going to be solved by one person. I might be solving it in another dimension, but we need a collaborative effort as a world to be able to solve this crisis. Because just to put that into context, the African youth, they are going to be, especially in 2050. And the question now is, what are they going to be doing?
Yeah.
So that major question then needs either tech companies to see opportunities in the form of human capital, in the form of enabling people to do more work, because what a collaborative effort can enable is rapid advancement of any technology. So that means 600 million people in Africa, more who are surviving maybe on agriculture because of incapacitation, could be better equipped to be able to provide also knowledge, ideas, intellectual property that can then aid where others have or where others are seeing roadblocks. So I think with other tech institutions or other tech businesses, we see that there's need of knowledge collaboration, then also funding to grow our operations, and then just shared blueprints of success.
Like I said at the beginning, your aim is actually to tackle two major problems, that is energy poverty and unsustainable agriculture. We've spoke a lot on energy poverty, and then I was wondering, how are you also, empowering communities so that there is a huge impact on unsustainable agriculture? Like, how is your company sector contributing to this sector as well?
So our companies are contributing substantially in the agricultural space, because one interesting statistic is that across Africa, 5% of the land, or less than 5% of the cultivatable land, is irrigated. So that means most of the agricultural activities that happen, they then rely on rain-fed agriculture. So this has been our Achilles heel, or has been our problem, because when you rely on the rains to be able to supply you with rain, that means they might not always be favorable. So in some seasons, for example, like what we are witnessing in the Southern African region, where our weather is drastically changing. One moment you have got droughts, next moment you have got cyclones, the next moment you have got excessive rains, or the next moment you don't even have actually water for irrigation. And water is at the source of agriculture. Without water, there is no agriculture. So our company, then, we are saying we target specific appliances that we feel these ones are more impactful in a community setup. So for example, like I had earlier on alluded, that we are providing irrigation infrastructure to communities. So when their water reserves are low, they can then tap into underground water sources, which are also very clean indeed for drinking and also irrigation. So that means that expands their water reserves to be able to grow in different cycles or different seasons, because one of the limiters was actually rain. People wait for the summer to grow their crops, but with access to other sources of water enabled by electricity, they can then be able to cultivate, they can then be able to grow their crops in different seasons. So that's been one of the major contributors that we've been providing. And we are now actively working on the data aspect of it, because we are also collecting the data to be used for better outcomes. So that database is still one that we are working on and collecting. Once refined, then we'll then deploy our artificial intelligence models to be able to better predict what seasons for the farmers to grow their crops, what favorable conditions for their crops to yield better production, and then also better equip them on a knowledge perspective. Because one thing about data is that data doesn't lie. It reflects whether your land is suitable for maize, your land is suitable for sorghum. So with that then data, it then gives you an informed position to then know what kind of crop to grow and when.
I think that's a quite good approach, because we all know that Africa's soil is fertile, and we could talk about energy poverty, but agriculture, I think looking at the unsustainable part of it is a great idea, because then you have a lot of farming going on, but then maybe they lack solutions, equipment, or the know-how, like knowledge sharing, and then now comes with the invention of AI-driven farming somehow, not just collecting data, but who knows. Kudos to you and the Skicc Tech team. I think that's quite a good approach. Now, when we talk about Africa, its innovation, of course, its potentials, but then still we talk about reshaping narratives because of how the narratives have been set by Africa and how perspectives are actually, seen as the way Africa is. And on that note, what is your perspective about people, let's say the Western world, non-Africans, about Africa? How do you think the Western world perceive Africa as a continent?
Okay. So I think one thing that's very important in life is to get on the ground and understand the perspectives, rather than maybe shaping up perspectives based on narratives or shaping up perspectives based on secondary information. So on the global space or on the global eye, I do feel there is somehow a perspective that Africa is very much way behind, and Africa maybe in some instances is incapable of providing substantial value to the global economy. Some of them are maybe perspectives that hold water in their regards, and some of them do not hold water in their regards. Because when you look at Africa, it's a space, or it's an environment where it has been impacted by different problems. And some of them are ongoing, some of them are actively holding Africa back. But then this is a narrative that hopefully I hope it will be changed to say we are all humans, either Africa, Europe, Middle East. All these are borders that should not separate or differentiate us, but rather they should be able to unite us. So when we look at the African continent, we should be looking at one of our own. When you look at the Western continents, we should be looking at one of our own, and then joined together by the power of collaboration to do more. Because like I had said, one of the key fundamental things about entrepreneurship is problem solving. So when you see a continent that has many problems, that means there's also potential to solve those problems, to make money, to also grow further and expand. So that's my own perspective in terms of Africa, that our problems, our scars, they're actually solutions that are going to transform those scars. But it now depends on either us, it all now depends on either the West, the East, all avenues or all corners of the world, to say we are not going to perceive, but rather we are going to enable a new narrative, because perception is how we see the world. But then when we see the world, let's say we have seen that Africa is not where it has to be. It's a bad space, or it's an undeveloped economy. Then what after we have seen? If we draw our pride from that we only observe Africa from a lesser point of view, then I feel there's more to be done as humans, because from those perspectives, are they changing people's lives? Are they making any difference in the next person's life? I could perceive you as a good person. I could perceive you as a bad person. But is that having a tangible benefit in that person's respective life? So regardless of perspectives, I still feel, above all, they should be shaped by actually action. If Africa is lower, or if Africa is higher, at least the world can then chip in through the power of collaboration to be able to put it where it needs to be.
Yeah. Well, like you said, if a country or a continent has a lot of problems, that means there is a lot of potentials as well. And those potentials create great minds and innovators, and you are one of those. I mean, you've had global recognitions, spoke at global stages, and I was gonna ask, like, what's next for Skicc Tech? What's next for Tinaye in the discussion of clean energy for Africa?
So the next steps are our daily steps that we live on every day. So we are always trying to build something new, improve something that already exists, and then also be able to scale our business. So what you'd notice is that in as much as we are still in our early stages of business, we have got work that we are working on, especially to add on to the industry of clean energy. So some of it could be in the form of data-driven solutions. Some of it could be in the form of even development of new energy infrastructure or architecture that our company is actively working on, because we've got a laboratory of solution generation. So because energy poverty was one of the problems that was in our way, we are then actively working towards making sure that we end that, but also we end that in a more sustainable way, a way that is sustainable financially, a way that is sustainable to the people, and also a way that is sustainable to the environment. At least these are our guiding principles in terms of execution. So what you would notice is that you will see that our work is going to scale and grow across the region, not just in Zimbabwe, because Zimbabwe is the beginning of our work, but the end of our work, it's going to be global. So at least we are still in our early stages of working. We are looking for solutions. We are making these solutions viable for business sake, and then now we are also working on expanding our efforts.
Nice. And I'm almost done with my questions. What I want to ask is, like, we talk about solution, we talk about impact, we talk about innovations, but then sustainability as well. This is all trying to give Africa a new image. What does giving Africa a new image mean to you?
Okay, so giving Africa a new image, it means looking at Africa not only in the past, not only in the present, but then looking at Africa in terms of the future. So one thing, unfortunately, that we cannot change is the past. Whatever image that we've had in the past, unfortunately, we cannot change that. But we are now actively working towards changing the present so that we can shape what our future is going to be like. One of the statements that I like is, it says, the best way to predict the future is to make it. So the new image for Africa, I feel it's an image of action. It's an image of we have learned the lessons in the past, we are learning the lessons in the present, and then we are acting towards improving the continent. So the image is hinged much on execution. A lot of people can talk, but now the question is how many people can act towards making that image into a reality.
Yeah.
So that has been what I view or I perceive in the context of Africa, that more of action, more of action. An image built on action. Now, the good thing about it is that we have seen the success stories in the West, how they've managed to advance technology. We have seen success stories in the East, how they've managed to advance technology. So from an execution point, we are no longer starting from zero.
Yeah.
We are now starting off at a better position. So that's the image that I see of Africa, an image of execution, an image of transformative progress that also actively contributes to the global economy.
Apropos actions and an image of transformative action, that brought me to my last questions. If you were to advise a young aspiring entrepreneur like yourself, who is actually looking forward to make headways in the energy sector in Africa, who has a solution but does not know how to create impact or how to implement this, what would be your advice to this young entrepreneur, aspiring entrepreneur?
Okay. So my advice to this aspiring entrepreneur is you have to stop aspiring and then be that person. So
you said you have to stop aspiring and
be that person.
Wow. Okay.
So when you aspire to be someone, you are hoping to be someone, the world is moving, time is moving. Be that person. Start. One of the pitfalls that entrepreneurs can fall in, or young entrepreneurs can fall in, is the pitfall of non-action. You have got hope, you're hopeful, you're aspiring, but you're not acting. So action is then what feeds into results. Instead of you hoping to start where an environment is better, where you've got more money, where you've got more resources, rather start now where you don't have, because that's where you are. And I remember when I was having one of the conversations with a fellow entrepreneur, I said, at some point, you don't realize that the actual steps that you're taking on that particular moment are the steps that are going to shape entire generations.
Yeah.
So each step that you take is actually a step forward to a better future. So rather than aspiring or rather than being hopeful, take that step, jump into that, take that leap of faith, jump into that journey, then let the journey shape your future. Because when you see what entrepreneurship is, it's mainly about problem solving. So it's actively getting your hands dirty, actively failing, succeeding, because if you are afraid to fail, for example, you never know what lies beyond that failure.
Yeah.
So just take up those first baby steps, though they might be small baby steps, you are going to eventually get there. Because the challenge with young entrepreneurs is that you see the successful entrepreneurs and you want to be like them.
Yeah.
But you didn't see them when they were young or when they were at a similar stage as you. So it's always now tough to say, I want to be maybe like Elon Musk, or I want to be like a certain entrepreneur. He has already succeeded in his journey, or he's already at a better level. What then sets apart my journey is that I'm here, I'm at my humble first steps, similar to what he did maybe 20 years or 30 years ago. But in 30 years or in the next 100 years, I'm also going to be there or even higher.
Yeah.
So my advice is the action has to start today. It has to start now. You can have an idea, but then put that idea into life, bring it into action.
Wow.
Stop romanticizing about ideas, because they can build a huge fantasy for you, but as long as you're not acting on those ideas, then the world is still moving without you.
Yeah. Wow, nice. What a great conclusion. Take a step, have ideas, make sure you utilize those ideas into action. You can aspire, but make sure that person you are aspiring, you become more than that person. This is what is my own personal takeaway. It's from an ex-entrepreneur perspective. Well, that's all that we have for you on Redefining Africa, how Zimbabwean young entrepreneur is actually transforming technology and clean energy through AI-driven power, serving communities and serving communities and giving solution to energy poverty and unsustainable agriculture. Thank you very much, Tinaye Makoni, for joining us all the way from Zimbabwe. It was quite an interesting, inspiring conversation talking to you about, technology, solar, AI in Africa, and how you are transforming and empowering lives through technology and innovation. That's all we have for you on today's edition of the Unfiltered Podcast. Until I come your way next time, like I said, it's our final edition on the threefold interview series that we are conducting about giving Africa a new face together with the Friedrich Naumann Foundation. This has been an inspiring journey myself. Thank you, Tinaye. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Until next time. Das war's von unserer heutigen Sendung von Unfiltered Podcast. Mein Gast ist Tinaye Makoni, ein Entrepreneur aus Zimbabwe, der Afrika ein neues Bild geben. Bis zum nächsten Mal. Tschüss.